Thanks to Expansive Worlds, we've got a chance to test out all the weapons in the new high power pack, as well as everything coming with the March 14th update just a couple of days early. But I think there's really only one correct way to start this video, and that is by firing what is, in my opinion, probably the most requested weapon ever in Call of the Wild, and that is a bolt action 7mm. So we'll just kind of line that up, and as expected, that whitetail is going nowhere, and just having not only that power, but that versatility in a bolt action weapon is, I think, going to be huge for the game. Just being able to quickly get multiple animals down, whether it's whitetail for those grinds, red deer for grinds like that, future great one grinds potentially as well, I think it's going to become an absolute favorite. The one thing that may hold it back is the 3-round capacity, but again, with the way that animals spook now, rarely do you need more than 3 shots in really quick succession anyway, so I think that's going to suffice, and you've still got that opportunity on certain maps to take things like Cape Buffalo, Water Buffalo, or other Class 9 animals. I do quite like the animations as well, but before we get too far down the line of firing weapons and just hunting with them, there's a couple of things I want to take a look at back at the lodge. And the first thing is more so confusion than anything. There seem to be like images of a bunch of moose, and I think whitetail at the top there, just kind of like that only show over the fur blanket on this bed. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if it's intentional, a hint for something, no idea, but that is the thing. What I mainly want to look at, though, is the weights of the weapons and the loadout. So, first of all, the new 7mm bolt action is 3.5 units. To compare that to the old one of 4.5, that's definitely going to be a big deal. Just more room for other weapons in your loadout. The 308 is also 3.5, so same as the 7mm. The 338 surprised me, though when we handle it, it actually makes sense. It's 5 units, which actually, compared to the old 338, if we can scroll down to that, will end up being the exact same. So, I thought initially, when they were releasing all these new weapons, that it would be lighter, but as soon as you handle the thing, it's the biggest gun in the game, model-wise, by far, so it makes perfect sense to me that it actually is 5 units, and especially now, you've got something like the 7mm that can be lighter, all these other weapons too, the 308 or other such ones, they're 3.5 units, and you've got a little more room for a heavy gun like this. Now, just quickly, I did want to take a look at how the loadouts work, and you can see, you have 5 free loadouts to begin with, and then you can buy one more for increasing amounts of 1,000. So we can buy number 6 for 1,000, we can buy number 7 for 2,000, and so on. But we have a high power pack loadout currently crafted. I wanted to kind of find out how they work, and it's actually quite nice. So currently we have 5 weapons, more than I would normally carry, but for the sake of it, if we then wanted to put calls into this loadout, we can scroll down to some of the latent calls. Maybe we want the grunt call, elk call, moose call, stuff like that. And to save the loadout, there's a hotkey at the bottom, press S to save your loadout, and now it's saved like that. So when you want to make adjustments, it's really simple. Move whatever in or out of your loadout that you want, one key, and you're good to go. But now for what I imagine just about everybody is waiting for, our first shot with the 338. Now, we've alerted this moose, and I'll talk about the camo we have on here in just a second. But we'll try to get a heart shot in there. It looks like we did, because we weren't able to spot him. This is the premium Hirschfelden wrap, similar to the one that we had with the New England Mountains. It's kind of a fall camo. I really like it, but I do think it's actually separate. There was, I think, like accidental information put into the game that made it appear as though there will be a Hirschfelden customization pack. I don't know 100% if it comes with the high power pack or not. There are some customization options that do, and I'm just not sure because with this early access, everything kind of ends up coming included. So I don't know what is with it and what's not, but I really like the design. The actual name of it was the Hirschfelden Veteran Pack, by the way, and it popped up, I think, on a PlayStation or Xbox DLC store. Obviously not available to be purchased at the time, but that was something that's been kind of known about, and you guys know I'm a sucker for camo weapons, and I really like this one, so I will no doubt be purchasing that. As for the performance of the 338, right lung and heart at 104 meters, it's not like it got excessive penetration. I mean, it's a third of the way back through the lung, which isn't bad for a frontal shot. So now we'll definitely have to test a broadside shot. Another thing too, by the way, that I definitely want to take a look at is the 308 on a moose. We have seen that this thing is absurdly powerful in EW streams. Obviously a 4-to-8 weapon, but I want to kind of compare the performance of that, especially with the 338, because that's the weapon that naturally most people will go to use. And actually, for now what we might do is just try it on a whitetail at 300 meters. I kind of like that too in the spotting info. It gives you the estimate of how far away it is. It's a nice touch, and that's a thing in real life. Obviously, you have the ability to kind of estimate the distance, but with the game side of things, there's a little bit of perspective that's always lost, like looking on a 2D screen, something that's representing 3D. So I always do like when games make an effort to sort of break that fourth wall and allow you to get a little bit of help from the game to determine things like distance and stuff like that. So I like that, and I will say 300 meters away, I don't know where we actually hit it. That 308 did a pretty solid job. But if we can maybe get one of these moose to go broadside, we'll try the 338 on one of them. I'd like to go further than like 130 meters, but this particular one, which is obviously a little bit bigger, is kind of determined not to turn for us. So gonna be a little quick with that shot since he was gonna actually turn and face us. But it looks like it maybe did okay. The shot angle was weird, and I guess we'll go around this way to pick up our whitetail and the moose, but definitely gonna bring him down. He definitely did, though, cover a decent bit of ground. It was just a single lung shot, which the angle was quite odd, but actually, there's not a lot of penetration there. Like, it's not like there's a risk of not getting the lung when broadside, but that's nowhere near being able to reach double lung. I don't know what the 300 would have done as a comparison there, but that may be worth looking into as well. And also the 308, again, as I mentioned, that was the particular thing. It wasn't necessarily how fast it brought down animals, it was the absurd penetration of the 308. So we'll actually take a look at that too, maybe next. But before we do, and actually kind of maybe it'll be a little bit of a look, we're gonna go and grab the whitetail we shot with it. Now I did think he ran further than that. I mean, that's where we shot him. So that wasn't bad at all. Maybe he actually got stuck here. That was double lung at 320. And that's not like insane penetration either, so maybe things were adjusted, or maybe it's the distance and angle combined. But I also did just remember there's one other really relevant thing with this update that we have to take a look at, and that is the new hotkey to hide or show clues. So we can just click a key and all the tracks disappear, which is cool for those that want to play it in a more simulator type of approach. But the thing is, by default, at least for me, it was the C key, which is really easy to hit. So what I would recommend is as soon as this update drops, go into your key bindings and change that. It is right here, hide animal clues, right above the vehicles part. I just put it to the bracket because there's no way I'm going to hit that by accident. That would be a really easy thing to hit by accident and just think there's no animals around. So definitely would recommend that, but I like the idea. That's another thing like the 7mm. For years, people have asked for a way to be able to just completely hide them, and now you can. Now, I should also note that I don't think you can rebind things on controller, so I don't know what button that may be. When I go into this, I don't see a button for it on controller, but it could be because I already rebounded on keyboard, so I would definitely look into it and just see what button it is so you know what's going on there. I do want to try to get this moose that managed to kind of trot off while we were looking at that, but let's see if we can get a decent long shot with the 308 on him. Bit of an opening there. Feels like we got the lead right. I really like the sounds with the 308. Like, it's a really nice chambering sound. So let's see if he starts to drop. It's kind of an underpowered weapon for a moose, and it is a lung shot. But he's definitely taken a long time to go down, so it'll be interesting to take a look at the penetration and compare with the 338. But I definitely don't think the gun itself is more powerful, which I think was a concern that I saw throughout the community. So just to take a look at it, it was 191 meters. And honestly, it's probably a little bit less than the 338, but not significantly, but also not significantly more, which does make what we saw on stream interesting. It was insane on, I think it was Plains Bison that we got to see, but either way, I would say that matches most other 4-8 weapons in the game, so that would seem to be fine. I do feel maybe the 338 could use a bit more penetration, and I really want to compare it to the 300, because I thought we were double lunging moose more on our moose grind over on Medved than not, but maybe we do end up with more single lungs and I just don't realize it. Now, one last thing before we do the only natural thing, which is to go and try to shoot the biggest animal in the game with the 338, is to try to shoot a moose with the 7mm, and you've probably seen me equip it a couple times by accident now. I put one of the new sprays on it, and I really like it. We'll take a look actually in the inventory because it shows it a little bit better, but we'll just do the same thing. Go for kind of a single lung shot or potentially double lung if we have crazy penetration, but certainly seems to do about the same as the 308. So if we go into the inventory, you can see that we have the new Medved Taiga netting spray on it. And I think maybe we'll actually take a look in the storage here because we're just going to be able to see it a lot better. But what it reminds me of actually is Badlands camo, and that's actually what I have on my real life 7mm mod 8. So you can bet this will be what I'm rocking on the in-game 7mm bolt action. It looks really, really nice. I'll probably use it on a lot of guns, honestly, because it just ends up with a really sleek look. But anyway, we'll go and take a peek at that moose, and then I want to take the 338 to Parquet and shoot a water buffalo or two. But on this guy, 158 meters, more or less the same performance as we saw from the 308. So not a bad deal considering that is the 7mm on moose. We may even try that on the water buffalo because it is also class 9. And I should note too, one thing that I'm planning on doing is streaming on the early access build here in just about an hour over on Twitch, and we'll be doing some real-time comparisons of the 338 and the 300 because I really want to see, is it going to be worth carrying this big bulky guy on all of our moose grind hunts? So the good news is, not hard to find the water buffalo. They are all over the place during their drink time here. And we'll just go with the 338, about 165 meters away, and we'll just see what we get kind of going for a heart shot. Now, going for a heart shot and actually aiming correctly to hit the heart are two different things, so we'll see where this ends up, but it's been a while since we've tried this, especially from this angle. But that's going to be a heart shot, no big deal. That'll be interesting to look at. I'm almost getting the impression too, because I've thought about this, and by the way, that reload animation, I do have to comment on that. I don't love it. I'm curious because I never noticed in the EW streams that it did that like flip around of the magazine. I don't know if that's because I've got the lightning hands perk up to level 3, so it's faster reloading, but it feels like something you wouldn't do in a hunting situation, but I guess if you're trying to reload fast, maybe that's the idea. Anyway, I've started to wonder if moose are actually tougher than things like water buffalo because they really run quite far when you make even good shots with high-powered weapons, and that'll be interesting to compare and contrast to, and maybe that's something we can do in the stream later today. As for this guy, obviously a heart shot, right lung and heart in fact, like that looks way better than how it performed on the moose, but as I said, I wonder if the moose are just tougher, because that actually would go as far as to explain the 308 basically tearing through a bison on EW stream, but then what we saw on the moose, not even close to that. That would be so interesting, but I'm really starting to think that might be the case, because that? I mean, that's double lung on a moose every time, that much penetration. You know, I'm just realizing, quite possibly, the biggest, difference with this distance estimate on spotting is gonna be with ducks and geese, because I can't tell you how many times I've that certainly worked well. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to shoot a duck or a goose or something out of the air with a 22, and I've just got no idea how far it is. And I'll end up getting it. Maybe it's 200 meters away and I was zeroed for 50 the entire time. That's going to be nice to just kind of have an indication like, alright, now it's over 150, change the zeroing. I like that. I also think while we're talking about things unrelated to the weapons, I think there's something done with the water. Like, this looks better to me. I don't know if it's like reflections with the sky or maybe it's got a little more motion to it, but it looks good. That was a piebald cinnamon teal. 114 meters away, which I think we were zeroed for 100. That's actually going to be nice, especially now too, they fly so much faster. Just having that estimate and knowing when it's time to up your zeroing, I think is going to actually help a lot. Anyway, I think the plan is going to be try to find one more water buffalo for the 338, and I think we'll call it a hunt. And actually, before we do that, maybe we can make use of the new distance estimation. What is going on? We're 2 for 2. I don't know, like the first time, I don't think we changed our zero, but that time we actually did, because I was able to see what the distance was. And I think we just killed a diamond cinnamon teal. They can probably troll now too, because I think their scoring is the same as Turkey's, and that changed, I believe, with the New England Mountains update, and heck of a water buffalo coming out of there, so I guess we're not quite done with the weapon testing, but when he gets turned around here, we will try with these unbelievably bulky irons to get a decent shot at him. Second one was a complete miss. Actually, first one got him pretty good. I don't know if the rest of these are charging us or just running by. That wasn't bad. That had to be like lung and liver or something as well, because the angle was really weird. His lung liver, I mean, look at that. It's perfectly capable on things like this. It's just that moose are apparently like shooting through concrete. As for the duck, though, we almost made it to it before getting nearly run over. That was a 4.64, which is 0.02 above diamond, 103 meters away. It's been just barely hits, like we hit the wing both times, but I like that. Might be my favorite feature that I didn't expect to actually end up quite liking. That as for this video, I think that's pretty well going to do it. I'm much more optimistic now. Having seen how well the 338 does on water buffalo, I think moose are just absolute tanks, but I do want to come back later on today. We'll take a look at the latent trophy cabin, but as for the weapons, that is pretty well going to do it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below, especially about moose versus water buffalo and the 338's performance. And on that note, that's going to do it. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.